Hey everyone, Ed from Paranormal Link, Ohio. We are here to do another podcast, and tonight's podcast is going to be another not well talked about paranormal incident. It's going to be another poltergeist. It's going to be the South Shields Poltergeist. Tonight we are not going to ancient castles. We are not going to forgotten cemeteries. We're going into something far more unsettling. A modern home, a normal street, a family trying to live their life, until the house itself allegedly turned against them. This is the South Shields Poltergeist case, and what happened there was not supposed to be possible. South Shields, England, a quiet coastal town, working class streets, rows of ordinary homes. But in one of those homes, something began to move, without permission, without warning, and without explanation. It started small. That's always how these stories begin. A knock when nobody was there, objects slightly displaced, doors not fully closed, then suddenly wide open. The family initially dismissed it, because that's what you do. You rationalize, you ignore, and you try to sleep through it. But the house, it just didn't stop. Then came the escalation. Items began to move in front of witnesses. Not subtle movements, full displacements. Objects sliding across surfaces as if pushed by invisible hands, sometimes even thrown. One of the earliest reported incidents involved household objects being hurled across rooms with force strong enough to cause damage. No drafts, no mechanical explanation, no intruder, just motion. Intentional motion. As the disturbances increased, so did the strangeness. Lights flickered without electrical fault. Appliances turned on and off on their own. Electronics malfunctioned in bursts that defied normal wearing and tearing or wiring issues. And then came the heat. Small fire outbreaks, more reported. Not large enough to destroy the home, but enough to terrify anyone inside of it. Because fire doesn't usually start in empty corners. This is where cases like this shift from strange to something else entirely. Because once fire enters the equation, people stop thinking in terms of coincidence. By this point, the situation had drawn attention beyond the household. Witnesses outside the immediate family reported unusual activity. Objects reportedly moving in ways that could not be attributed to wind or human interference. And eventually, authorities became involved. Police investigations in cases like this are not taken lightly. Officers are trained to look for intrusion, fraud, and environmental explanation. But in South Shields, there was no clear entry point, no sign of forced entry, no consistent human cause, just reports of chaos inside a sealed environment. One of the most disturbing aspects of the South Shields case is what was never seen, because nobody ever reported a physical being. No figure in the hallway, no shadow in the corner, no face in the window. Only the effects, as if something was there that refused to be observed. In folklore, this is the hallmark of what's called a poltergeist phenomenon. Not a spirit that appears, but one that acts. In physics, force is defined by mass and acceleration. But in cases like this, there is no visible mass, no known source of acceleration, and yet force is still applied. Objects still move, something is producing an effect without a measurable cause. As word spread, media attention followed. The story began circulating through tabloids and paranormal reporting outlets. And with it came the usual divide. Believers called it undeniable evidence of haunting. Skeptics called it stress, attention, or misinterpretation. But inside the home, none of those theories mattered. Because whatever you believe does not stop objects from moving across a room. Those stories often focus on objects, but the real weight is always human. The people inside the house reportedly experience constant fear, sleep disruption, anxiety, the feeling of never being alone. Imagine trying to rest while knowing that at any moment something might be thrown across the room where you're lying. It's not just activity, it's psychological erosion. The slow breakdown of what feels safe. The most intense phase of poltergeist cases typically follows a pattern. It starts subtle, then builds, then peaks. And in South Shields, reports suggest it reached that peak. Objects moving more frequently, incidents becoming harder to dismiss, events clustering in unpredictable bursts. And then, like many cases of this kind, it began to fade. One of the strangest parts of the South Shields case is not what happened during it, but what happened after. The activity reportedly declined over time, eventually stopping altogether, leaving behind only questions. No confirmed spruce, no confirmed source, no definitive explanation, no satisfying closure. Just silence. The kind that feels heavier after chaos. There are three major explanations typically offered for cases like this. Psychokinetic energy linked to emotional stress, environmental or structural anomalies, or outright deception. But none of them fully account for every reported detail, and that it was where the South Shields Poltergeist remains unsettling. Because even if you strip away belief, you are still left with reports and witnesses and physical disturbances that left marks behind. Maybe the house wasn't haunted. Maybe it was stress. Maybe it was coincidence layered on coincidence. Or maybe there are still forces we don't fully understand. Not ghosts in the traditional sense, but something tied to human perception, emotion, and reality itself. Something that reacts, something that responds, something that waits. The South Shields Poltergeist case remains one of the more documented modern disturbances in the United Kingdom. But documented does not mean explained, and explained does not always mean understood. So the question remains, when a house begins to behave like something is inside it, do we ask what is haunting it? Or can we ask, what is listening? Because sometimes the silence after is the most dangerous part.